Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. This is kind of a follow-up video to a video that your boy Zach made on Sean Gordon Murphy about editors. I know it sounds weird, but I want to get into this. Here's the thing. I know for a fact that there are comic book professionals that watch my YouTube videos. I know for a fact that comic book professionals that work, again, for Marvel and DC are up to date on all of this crowdfunding stuff. They're really heavily involved. They're just very quiet, or maybe sometimes they use anonymous accounts, and all of that's cool. That's fine. That's great. But I gotta wonder why it has to be so secretive. This like weird communication. There's just a weird political landscape that's going on right now in the comic book industry. So it's interesting. And I think I have at least one theory, and it basically is a bucket of crabs. That's what happens. So you'll kind of see some things on the surface that hint toward this. Now, Sean Gordon Murphy went out of his way to express his opinion. And keep in mind, people post things on Twitter are like a journalist will post things on Twitter specifically to get people talking. You see this, like, what are your thoughts on X, Y, or Z? What are your thoughts, artists, on editors? Sean Gordon Murphy is an artist and he has an opinion on editors. The interesting thing though is seeing the clarification. I was going to call it backpedal, but not really backpedal. It's just clarification on Sean Gordon Murphy's part in order to appease a lot of people that might have been offended, not necessarily, maybe in part to the fact, that his statements on editorial, but probably more to the fact that your boy Zach made a video about his comments. I know this is all weird, but if you're seen to be in agreement with somebody that you're not supposed to be in agreement with, then out come the crabs. Oh yeah, before we get into the rest of this video, I want to remind you that Downcast Rise and Fall is on Indiegogo right now. I'm thinking by the time I post this, we might actually be past 20,000. We're really close right now. This has been so cool because over the weekend we actually picked up a little bit more steam. I'm really excited about this. Lots of more cool stuff to come. I really want to, take this to the next level. I don't want to talk about this too much. So yeah, take a look in the description below and please do back it. I could use your support. All right, so here's Sean Gordon Murphy and his comments. So here he goes. 1, happy to clarify my earlier tweet about editors. No one is asking me to do so. I just don't want to be misunderstood. Yeah. No one might be asking him to do it, but a lot of people expect him to do it. Because again, the wrong people were agreeing with his sentiments on editorial. So now here he is, and I think these are all good points too, but this further proves my point. Twitter's not the best place to have discussions go on. It's an interesting place to have discussions start, and then you can finish it somewhere else. But these big old long, what do they call a screed, whatever you're going to call it. These big old long, threads of comments are just really not the best way to communicate. All right, he continues. He says, I'm a firm believer in the editorial process, even with Image, where we weren't required to have editors. We paid for one out of our own pocket because we liked having someone keep us scheduled, focused, and who'd push back against mediocre work. That makes sense. And I've been a long time proponent of having an editor. All right, number 3, first drafts of scripts often need improvement. I write up to 7 drafts sometimes, and having my editors involved in the process helped make Black and Curse a lot better. I said Black, but BWK, what is it? Batman White Knight. There we go. And Curse a lot better. Number 4, being a good editor obviously encompasses many things: a love of reading, a passion for good content, a radar for future projects, the ability to maneuver office politics. The list is extensive. And as with many jobs in comics, they're often overworked and underpaid. Okay, so here's the thing here. Notice he's been saying good editors, and then even here he'll say his favorite editors. His comments before, obviously, were not about all editors. I didn't even take that way. I don't think anybody took it that way. However, it was a criticism at large. If the industry is hiring editors and not doing the proper training, or unqualified editors, those are not going to be good editors, or most likely not his favorite editors. It's an important role. It is part of a creative team. It's part of a production team. There's a lot of important things that editors do. And I think it's fair to have those criticisms. But again, there's a bucket full of crabs. And there might not be good editors, okay? And that's going to be offensive to a not good editor. Number 5, my favorite editors also have an understanding of plot and storytelling. That was the poorly worded point I was trying to make. I don't really think that it was poorly worded at all. I think it was worded just fine. I think that people were offended by it because maybe it was a little too true. Perhaps. But yes, editors should know about plot and storytelling, especially if you're going to work in comics and be an editor. I mean, this seems obvious that that's something you would need. Number 6, do you need a business degree to be an editor? No, a degree in film/English/writing/art? Of course not, but some of those things obviously increase your odds of getting hired. I know great editors with no formal training, but are self-educated on storytelling, plot, etc. Now, I will say here, I think that the value, this might be controversial, get ready for it. The value of a degree, especially in English, writing, and art, is really not as valuable as you might think. I would rather have an editor that has worked specifically on improving editorial skills. Obviously, you have to have experience as an editor or writer to learn these kinds of important things. You could have a degree, but I'm not really personally going to put very much weight into that degree in these specific fields. Now, if you're going to be a medical doctor, I'm going to be looking at your degree a little bit more carefully. When it comes to these things, though, I want to see what you can do. That is much more important than the degree itself. But to his point, again, I think we agree on the whole, you should know these fundamentals of storytelling. It's not just one of those things where you can just be a good editor because you like watching movies. It doesn't work that way. You might be able to identify that a story is boring or it has a problem, but it's going to be really hard to prescribe what you do to fix it or make good, solid storytelling suggestions to correct structure problems in stories when you don't really know how to create a story structure yourself. The other problem is that you tend to get into these really bad tropes because, an editor might think that there's this set of 1 or 2 or 3 things you can do to make a character likable, and they'll just go back to that same well over and over again and force those things like, oh, all the women love each other, they're all a good team, that kind of stuff. You could focus on all of the wrong kinds of things when really, if you're into storytelling, you can find creative ways to help characters become likable in unique ways, other than just relying on the same kinds of tropes that you see pop up over and over again. I have to believe the editorial has something to do with that. All right, number 7, I've been doing comics professionally for 17 years. That wouldn't be possible if I didn't understand how the comic machine and its various parts worked. I know I speak bluntly and people often mistake me for trying to be antagonistic. I assure you that is not the case. Now, he did say that nobody told him to make these statements, but I gotta believe that there were some people that were pretty offended by it, or again, offended that the wrong kind of people agreed with him on this. These are called bucket crabs. All right, and last but not least, number 8, he says, most of you know I'm a straight shooter and all I want is an industry filled with talented, kind, fair, educated, hardworking people who show up 100% prepared for each day. I want my tweets to promote that culture. I'm always happy to clarify tweets that disrupt that. Peace. All right, great. And again, this is, I'm looking at this on Twitter because this is what we call spicy. You'll find something that is going to offend people. This is less spicy than his first one. None of it is really that spicy, but it's a moment of honesty. And when there's a moment of honesty, it's going to offend some people, no matter what you do. Immediately, out come the bucket of crabs, and they're going to try and pull you back down. You cannot pull ahead of the pack. You must remain in that bucket. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Feel free to, whatever you want to do. Give me your 2 cents, hot takes, mean tweets, whatever you want to say. And also, don't forget that Downcast Rise and Fall is live on Indiegogo right now in a premium prestige graphic novel format. Check it out. And maybe you'll be the one to push us over to 20K so we'll all hit the next stretch goal. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time.